Oh, hello there. Sorry, didn't see you beyond this pile of books. Just 1 minute and I'll just clear them out the way and I'll be right with you. Them there, yes. And them over there. Show me a second. That over there. And those over there. Okay, I'll begin again. Hello, welcome to Seaside Whispers Book Emporium. My name is Steve. How can I help you today? Oh, yes. Oh, yes, of course. You're the person I spoke on the telephone earlier, aren't you? That's right. Funny enough, the books I was just getting out there were for your good self. Perfect timing. So, when we spoke on the phone, you said that you were looking for some books for some relatives and for yourself. And you specifically were looking for action books, adventure, and travel. Is that correct? It is. Okay. Well, I pulled together some of our stock and I shall go through with you now, if that's okay. Yep. And you can just let me know if you're interested in any of these particular types of books or these books that I picked out for you. Okay. Okay, right. Now let me start. Where should we start? Let's start with this one here. You can see it's by Clive Cussler there. And it's called The Assassin. Now, as you may know, Clive Cussler is mostly famous for his Numa novels with Dirk Pitt and Al Giordino as the main characters. Well, this is one of his other series here. He actually writes it with a guy called Justin Scott. Now, this particular book is about private detective agency and a guy called Isaac Bell. And basically he's a private detective in the early 1900s, so sort of time Wild West, all that sort of stuff, Prohibition, so it's sort of gangland, I suppose, in a way, early American gangland. But essentially he's tracking down a potential assassin in this book, and so it's something a little bit different from your normal Clive Cussler's, say the period it's set in, but it's certainly a good action adventure one for you there. I think this is probably book 7 or 8 in the series, so if you like this one, I'd certainly recommend you going back and reading some of the other ones. I can let you know what the other ones are if you're interested. Yeah, okay, let me just have a look here for you. Okay, you've got The Spy, The Race, The Thief, The Striker, and The Bootlegger. So this would be actually number 6 in the set. I've read all of them and they're all very good. They're all slightly different settings, slightly different years. So in effect, it starts out in about 1905 and consecutive years up until sort of the First World War. But yeah, I'd certainly recommend that one anyway, especially if you're a Clive Cussler fan anyway, you know what to expect. But this is a little bit different. Next, now another, probably the master actually of political thrillers, adventure, that action, that kind of thing, Tom Clancy. Now this one is more of your out and out action novel, which again is a little bit different from your normal Clancy ones, thrillers, that kind of thing. But essentially this is based upon the computer games of Ghost Recon. You may be familiar with it. Yeah, you've heard of it. Okay. Essentially this one is about a sort of group of soldiers, mercenaries, going to get a CIA operative out of the jungle, and essentially they come across terrorist plots and they have to stop them. This is more of sort of modern version than the previous one. This is set right up to date with the latest technologies, so if you're sort of into your Army, SAS, Delta Force, that kind of thing, then definitely recommend it. And again, you sort of know what you're getting with Tom Clancy there. But I'd say that was a good fast-paced read. Now, if you're looking for something completely off the wall, fast pace, no relenting, this is the sort of one you'd read possibly on a plane journey or a long train journey, because it just shoots past. This guy here, highly recommend him, Matthew Riley. Now, have you heard of him before? You think you have, yeah. He's an Australian writer, and he writes complete out and out action books. It's literally like a film. So if you were imagining a plot of a film, Matthew Riley definitely writes like that style. So there isn't any slowing down, discussing this, that, and the other, going back in time, which some of the other books do. This is just all out action. It's called Scarecrow and the Army of Thieves. Now, Scarecrow is actually the code name of the main army officer in it, I suppose. And he basically, small team are up in the Arctic, but essentially they have to go and break into an old Russian Cold War base and stop terrorist plot. So again, it's basic idea of sort of, you know, small army against a giant army, and they probably win in the end. But obviously, I won't give away the secrets there. They may or they may not. So I'd say this one definitely, and the advantage of this one is there are sort of maps within it here within the plot, so you can actually see if it explains that they were looking at a layout plan of something or a radar picture. You can sort of see what they're supposed to be looking at on the screen, which helps you sort of think, oh yeah, okay, I know what they mean. And of course, each section here is divided into sort of hours or days even, and you can see there that if they're going into a particular location, it kind of does a basic sketch there for you, so as if they'd been looking at the prints beforehand and they're going to invade, say, the lower level there, so you can just see what they're talking about and where they're going. So yeah, this is definitely a good one if you know, want a nice quick read, action, definitely worth it. So what else have we got for you? There is one more sort of what I'd call, this is more of a historic based action adventure novel, and it's by a Scottish writer, Scott Mariani. Have you heard of him? You're not sure? Yeah, so he's one of these guys who, he's written quite a few books, and they're all the main character, Ben Hope. But essentially it's a sort of guy who's a bit messed up, ex-army, was training to be a priest as well, and sort of he tends to get involved in situations where perhaps, I don't know, somebody goes to a convent perhaps, and he's sort of staying there to recover from whatever happened to him before, and they come along and kill all the monks, and then he goes out for a revenge. So it's sort of one of those type ones. It's similar to Jack Reacher, I suppose, if you've ever read any of the Lee Child Jack Reacher novels, where he just finds himself in the situations, but basically he has to sort of solve mysteries and puzzles and that sort of thing on the way. But again, it's very fast-paced, very good, and it's got titles like The Mozart Conspiracy, Doomsday Prophecy, where essentially he comes up against various situations. Now he's an expert in hostage rescue, so that's how it tends to be come across there, and he tends to find himself in the situations because he rescues the person perhaps, or he goes to rescue them and he ends up being caught up in the conspiracy. So again, definitely recommend that one. Now there is one more here which is a classic, and if you've never read this one, then I definitely recommend that you do. It is another Tom Clancy, Hunt for Red October. Now I'm pretty sure you may have seen the film with Sean Connery. You have, yeah, so you sort of know what it's all about. This is one of his very first novels. In fact, I think it may have been his first. So we're going back to sort of the early 80s perhaps with this one. But essentially, you know, it's all about Russian submarine captain who wants to defect. Yeah. But this one, again, it's what you call a political thriller, I suppose, and it's the first time you come across the Jack Ryan character in it. So of course you probably know that Jack Ryan is the main character in all of his books pretty much, especially this series. But this was one of the ones that Tom Clancy wrote as a solo writer. So if you're into Tom Clancy on his own without the collaborations, then I'd definitely say Hunt for Red October. It's one of those classic ones that, even if you haven't seen the film, the book is well worth a read. It does keep you on the edge of your seat pretty much, you know. It's sort of typical Cold War 80s setting, Russians, Americans, that sort of thing. So you know what's coming pretty much with it. But yeah. Now I've got another one here which you may like. I understand you did mention something about looking for a relative who's into the fantasy sort of things, your Game of Thrones and your Tolkien novels, Lord of the Rings. Yeah, this guy is a German writer, Marcus Heitz. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right or not, but I'm sure my German speaking friends will be able to tell me one way or the other. But I'm sure it's Heitz. It could be Heitz, but I'm not sure. Now this is a series of books he wrote called The Dwarves. Now these are originally German books that were translated into English, so it's quite a tome, as you can see. But if you like Lord of the Rings, then definitely this is one for either yourself or your relative, because it's basically it's an easy book to read, easy book to get into. It's possibly not quite like Lord of the Rings in terms of you're not quite sure which character is which and how the storyline goes backwards and forwards, and you end up with an appendix that's about as thick as the book to work it out. This one pretty much is the story of a guy called Tungdil, who is a dwarf who happens to live with humans, but he doesn't know his heritage or history. And this is kind of the first in 4 books where the character essentially finds out who he is, and they have to defeat the various evils, evil wizards, orcs, people from other worlds, other lands, and various other magical mystery creatures. But you meet a band of dwarves on the way, basically, and they're the kind of central ones. There's twin dwarves in there, there's somebody he falls in love with, and that's the central characters to all the 4 books. They all reappear at various stages. But it's essentially how he goes from just being an ordinary dwarf working in a forge in a human world to becoming king of all dwarves in the last book that is available in the series. And I'm not sure if there will be any more given the ending, but I won't tell you what that is, so you'd have to read the rest of the books. But yes, definitely it's a bit of a weighty tome there, but once you get into it, it's one of those ones you can't put down, so it does flow relatively quickly. So once you're into the storyline itself, then it kind of nicely leads on to the other books, which is kind of set several years afterwards, and there's always a period of time between them, so it's quite good because it carries on with the original characters plus introduces new ones, because the dwarves live for hundreds of years. So as you can appreciate, so like Lord of the Rings, there could be 100 years between point 1 and point 2, so that's kind of how it goes. Now those are the books there, which are the adventure books, action books. So I'm not sure if you're interested in any of those, are you? Oh, you are? Okay. Which ones would you be interested in? And then I can show you the last little selection to do with travel books. You like the Tom Clancy ones? Hunt for Red October. Okay, I'll just write it down. For Red October. Okay. What about the other Clancy one? Not so much. Okay. Clive Cussler one you'd be interested in. Okay, Clive Cussler. Okay, that's fine. Any others? The Dwarves one. Okay, yes, that's a good book, fancy one. Who's that for? Your nephew. He's really into that. Okay, yeah, that's fine. So Dwarves. Do you want me to order whilst we're there the rest of the Dwarves series as well for you? You would. Okay, that's fine. Series. So I'll just make a note there. Dwarves series. Okay. So I've got those 3 selections down for you. Now the last one you said was another present, was it, for somebody who's into travel, that sort of thing? Okay, I've got a couple of selections here. One is a sort of what you call travelogue, and the other one is actually a book that shows you places to go. It's in Canada. It's basically set in the national parks of Canada, and there's some lovely pictures in there, some information, that sort of thing. So that might be something you're interested in. But I'll kick off with this one by Bill Bryson. Now he's quite famous for being a travel writer. He's an American who basically moved to England several years ago, and he basically writes about his adventures both in America and England. But this one, it goes back to one of his first novels called Notes from a Small Country. Have you heard of that? Oh, you have? Yes. I think they may have made a documentary about it, but that was quite a while ago. But this is kind of retracing his steps, but also adding to new places. So he's trying to go from one side of the country to the other in a straight line without having to go across seas or anything like that. So this one is called The Road to Little Dribbling. And as you can see there, that is a picture of the Seven Sisters near Eastbourne there. Apparently it's a lovely part of the country to come from. I'd love to visit one day. So yeah, Bill Bryson, you sort of know what he's about. It's a sort of comedy take on your normal travelogues. So he just observes the day-to-day things that go on, the silliness in towns, some places that he describes as a bit of a dump, possibly. Yeah, again, it's a nice light read because, in effect, each section, each page on here is divided into, or each chapter is kind of a different journey, so you could just skip in and out of it as you wish. So like the first bit might be the south of England, then the north and Scotland and so forth, so you can just skip in and out of various bits of it. So that's quite a good one to read, especially if you read any previous Bill Brysons. You said this was a gift for a friend, was it? Yeah, well, it is, yeah. Well, if he knows about Bill Bryson travel books, then I'm pretty sure he's read it and sort of... It's not quite as factual as somebody say like Michael Palin's books, but it's a good read, just a nice light read. So there's that one to consider. Now the last one is one that I picked up whilst in Canada a while ago, and it might be something that you'd be interested in. It's basically the Canadian Rockies. And what this is, it's kind of pictorial with information about the Rocky Mountains themselves. So if your friend is planning a trip there, or just likes looking at pictures of scenery, or they've been there, this is an ideal book for them. I'll just show you some of the pictures. As you can see, that is the actual Rocky Mountain National Park areas. There's various ones there. So as I say, it's very good for a guide, really. See, you've got some lovely pictures like that, which shows the national park. Very good quality, isn't it? Yes, yeah. But I thought you might be interested in this because it's more of a sort of thing you'd possibly read at home. It's not something you take away given the size of it. But again, you can sort of see some pictures there of the park and various parts of it. British Columbia side, Alberta, and various other places in between. But it does go into sort of, you can see there, wildlife as well. So you've got the wildlife side of things. So it's pretty interesting in terms of background, pictures, if you just like looking at nice pictures, frankly. And there you can see it also goes into some things you can do there. So I think this is the Columbia ice field, the Athabasca Glacier, and so you can actually ride up on the vehicle there. So I don't know if either of those two tick the right boxes, either the Canadian book or the Bill Bryson one. Oh, they do. Okay. Would you be interested in either of those two? Both of them. Okay. So you want the Bill Bryson, and the Canadian Rockies book. Okay. Now, will you be taking them away today, or will you be coming to collect them later on? You've got a few things to do in town, okay, and you want to come back later. Okay, that's fine. I've made a list of everything. Can I just take your name so I can put a reserve on them? Yep. And is that spelt with 3 Z's or 4? 4. Okay. And can I just have a contact number for you? 9, 7, 2. And that was 3 at the end, right? Yeah, okay. And as a new customer to us, would you be interested in being on our mailing list and finding out about other related products and services and other new books that come out from the various authors? You would, okay. Have you got an email address? Yes, okay. Would it be okay if I take it and we could get in contact with you? It'd be fine, okay. And your email address is? Yeah, at. And has that got 5 Z's in it? Okay. Z's. And 1 exclamation mark? 2 exclamation marks. Okay. So I've got all your details. And the books that we're going to have are Hunt for Red October. And we've also got The Assassin, is that correct? Yes. And we've got the Dwarves book. And we've got the Canadian Rockies book. And last but not least, the Bill Bryson book. So there we go. So I hope you will enjoy your selection, and I hope to see you very soon. Thank you for coming into the shop today. Bye bye and have a pleasant day.